Hi, in this segment of the chapter, I will be sharing with you on the functions of the ileum and the adaptations of the villi in the ileum. Okay, so let's begin. So you know that digestion occurs in the duodenum of the small intestine. After digestion, right, they will continue the journey of the food will continue the journey and they will move on into the ileum, and that's where they will be absorbed. Okay, so what are we actually talking about in terms of nutrients? Of course, the glucose, which is you can see over here, which is the final products of carbohydrates, the final products of proteins, which we call amino acids, and of course the final products of fat digestion, which are the fatty acids and the glycerol. Okay, so all these will be absorbed. The ileum, right, is specially adapted for this form of absorption. Okay, so number one, it is pretty long. Number two, the inner walls of the ileum, right, is highly folded. Okay. Number three, on the folds, right, you will see more folds, and these are known as villi. Okay, so they are minute finger-like projections on the folds. And finally, right, if you take a look at the lining of the villi, which is known as the epithelium, you will see, right, that the cells on this lining have also have protrusions, okay, from the cell membrane, and these are known as microvilli. So you can see over here, right, that the ileum, right, is specially, it has evolved in such a way, right, that it has the total surface area to volume ratio is so high, okay, and that is of course to help the ileum in its main function of absorption. Glucose and amino acids are absorbed by diffusion and active transport. Okay, please note that it is not everything, not all the processes. And fatty acids and glycerol, right, do not get absorbed by active transport. Okay, only by diffusion. And of course, osmosis is only referred to water. So, yeah, since we're talking about the food molecules, therefore you are only looking at diffusion and active transport. Is there water being absorbed? Of course, and the process is osmosis. So these are the pictures that you are looking at. So you can see over here, right, that the ileum has lots of folds. Okay, from the pictorial point of view, you can actually understand. So this is one fold, right? Okay, which I'm trying to annotate. And on this fold, right, you can see even more foldings, correct? Little projections. And these are known as villi. The plural is villi. The singular, right, is known as a villus. All right? Okay? On the villus, right, you will see the lining over here. So you can see the epithelium or the lining. Let me write down the lining. Or you can call them the wall, okay? Or the epithelium. You can see, right, that the cell has numerous projections from the cell membrane. Okay, so it's from the cell point of view. And these are known as microvilli. Okay, so the microvilli plus the villus plus the fold plus the length of the ileum, right, gives you a huge surface area to volume ratio to help in absorption. Okay, so let's look at one villus. One villus, right, has some components that is pretty important. Okay, in particular, three of them. The first one, right, which I already mentioned, the wall lining, the villus wall lining, or you can call them the epithelium. Okay, is only one cell thick. So over here, right, you can see that the thickness is so thin that it is the thickness is actually what we call a one cell thick wall. Okay, very important. In the villus, right, there are blood capillaries, and it is pretty a lot of them. So it's a dense network of blood capillaries. And right in the middle of each villus, right, there is a protrusion, and this is known as a lacteal. A lacteal, right, that a lacteal, firstly, right, let me annotate, okay? A lacteal is not blood. A lacteal, right, transports a different type of fluid known as lymph. Okay, and so you will find them in the villus because the lacteal is used to absorb fats, which you will know later. And of course, if you take a look at the bottom of all the villi, right, the intestinal juice is actually being secreted by special glands in the ileum. Okay, so they are called intestinal glands. Of course, these three are the ones that is important because I'm going to elaborate on them in the next slide. Okay, so yeah, I am putting an asterisk for these three. So later on, you will see them being elaborated even more. So number one, okay, the first adaptation of the villus, right, is the one cell thick wall. You can say one cell thick epithelium, or you can say one cell thick lining, or you can say one cell thick wall. Okay, they are all the same. Of course, epithelium is the correct term, but I think for now you can use the word lining or the word wall. So the whole idea why it is one cell thick, right, is to decrease diffusion distance. So this is the explanation over here. And because the distance of diffusion is decreased, the rate of absorption is increased because they can cross over faster. All right. On the epithelial cells, you will see projections of the cell membrane known as microvilli. And so this further increase surface area to volume ratio, and therefore overall it will make the rate of absorption even faster. Okay. In the epithelial cells, right, they have a lot of mitochondria, just like root hair cells, adaptation. And the high number of mitochondria, right, represents more energy being released from respiration, so that the absorption of glucose and amino acids, right, can be done by active transport. Okay? And finally, the dense network of blood capillaries. Alright, this dense network of blood capillaries, right, ensure that the absorbed food substances are constantly being swept away by the blood, and so the concentration gradient between the small intestine and the blood is very steep because the blood is always moving, and this will help in better absorption of food molecules. Okay, so these are 4 adaptations of a villus, and they are all pretty important, of course. Yeah, so these are, I guess that's it for this slide. You have to remember all 4. Okay. Finally, right, how are the substances being absorbed? Like what is being mentioned just now. So it was being mentioned earlier in the slides. So let me repeat this. Okay, for glucose and amino acids, they are being absorbed by diffusion and active transport. Okay, no osmosis, because it's not about water. And for fats, right, they are being absorbed by diffusion. For fats, right, uh, after the fatty acids and glycerol has been absorbed by diffusion, right, they will recombine into fats, okay, and they will go into the lacteal. So take a look at the word lacteal over here, and that's the reason why the lacteal is in the villus. Okay, the fats will be absorbed into the lacteal, and later on, right, in the body, the fats will then join the blood. Okay, but this later on part you don't really have to know, but ultimately, right, the fats will be in the blood. So that's it. Okay, for this particular segment, I'm just sharing with you in bite size the adaptation of the ileum and of course the function in absorption. All right, thank you.